Okay. Something was really weird up there.
Technical gremlins.
I think it's something with the keyboard. So maybe one key was stuck and gave this sound, constant sound. So move back and forth, and maybe it will work. Back, we'll deal with that. Right, day 3, right? So yesterday I was too much exhausted, you guys. Covered too much work, so I'm going to slow down today. And I'm not going to, because if it's too fast, I will not be able to absorb everything, and everything will become just knowledge without, getting into the feeling of what we are talking about. You will not be able to make it happen. So we'll be slowing down this week, and we'll cover on the work from I Got This and Virtues. Only these two. I will not be talking about Master and Fatalist. I will cover this on a separate week. It's just too much knowledge, too much confusion, and I just realized that you will not be able to really absorb what we are really talking about, and everything will become superficial. And that's what we don't want. We want you to really gain the feelings of this, what we talk about. So you can actually become those goodnesses and virtues. Sounds right? Okay, I don't have my tea. Hold on, bring my tea. You can talk now.
I'm so glad he said that, because I started reading Aniela's book, not the Virtues, the other book, and I never even got to the Masters. And anyway, so I'm glad he's backed up a little. Anybody agree?
I think it's all interesting. I mean, I quite like the stuff we were talking about, the Master and Fatalist, but I suppose if we go into one area in a bit more depth, then there's better chance of understanding one area rather than skirting across 2 or 3.
Yeah, he's got a good sense of what he's doing.
Yeah, I like the focus. I do. I think we'll ultimately get more of it if we dig in deep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just ordered the book, so I'm withholding judgment.
You what?
I just ordered the book, so I'm withholding judgment.
Me too. I just ordered the books, but they do come online on your Kindle, a couple of them for free.
Oh, okay. I'll check.
If you have the Kindle.
But you can't get them on a dedicated e-reader like a Paperwhite. It has to be like on a Fire or an iPad or something like that. So.
Maybe
if you buy the paperback?
No. If you buy the ebook, like
if you buy the Kindle
through Kindle, you can't read it unless you have like a
Kindle app,
like a Fire or that kind of thing. It doesn't work on a dedicated e-reader.
Maybe an iPad.
Yeah,
iPad is fine.
Oh, okay, good.
Yep.
Olivia, where are you from in Richmond?
West End.
Oh, you're from the West End. Okay, of course, right. And what's your high school that your daughter is going to?
Freeman.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh man.
Fremont, so you are somewhere here? Where are you located? Olivia?
Jean or me? Oh, I'm in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
You went to Fremont.
She just has some contacts in the area as well. So
I grew up near there. So it's so great to have you in California.
All right, so let's begin our journey. So I didn't hear anybody talking about triple happiness. So maybe somebody could share about triple happiness. All right. Nobody wants to talk. We need a courageous one.
I didn't
We're-
write down triple happiness for my homework.
Yeah.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
Well, it's the first chapter of the Got This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to chapter 2.
All right, you got the chapter. Okay, we'll back to triple happiness next time. So let's go to chapter 2. Right.
You said we need to think about no choice, no freedom.
Yeah.
We've all been busily thinking about that all day. No room for anything else.
Yeah, we'll get up there. Okay, dream on, but act now. Okay, anyone would like to talk about this?
It made me feel a little guilty about all the crap I've been watching on Netflix, honestly.
Well,
I've been watching a lot of,
you have a choice, and you have the freedom, right? And
Yes.
you do. And you're responsible for what you're doing, right?
yes.
You are getting the results. Everything works.
Yeah.
Everything works. I have to read you this poem, right? Since we are on that thing, because this is a situation with people when they think sometimes that something doesn't work. So I was in this when I was in LA. I was receiving a lot of this. Maybe it works for me, maybe it doesn't. Some kind of this spiritual talk that inspired me to write this poem. Everything works. One day my friend told me, it doesn't work. Is there anything in life that doesn't work? I answered. He looked at me smiling. There are many things that don't work. For example, I'm trying to lose weight, but it doesn't work. What happens? I asked. I get stuck, my friend. Then you know, I told him. What do I know? Being stuck works. My friend laughed and said, it's so easy to miss. So everything what we do works.
Yep.
You just
I feel like that's profound, and I don't understand it yet.
Well, whatever we do works. Like, if becoming poor, you're becoming poor, it works. If becoming, ill because you do certain things and it is your thing, then it's working. If you becoming lazy, that is working. So whatever we do, it's working.
Yeah.
We are behind that. We make our choices. Like, watching Netflix is working, right? Olivia, it's working, right?
Jersey, I heard. Oh, sorry. Someone I knew. Used to say, "Your result reveals your true intention."
Exactly.
So
Differently said.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever, if you want to see what you actually do, you just look at your results, and then you see what is working. if you don't do your homework, that is working. It's working. You don't do it.
So everything takes us in a direction, and the results basically show us what our intention was.
Yeah, if you want to really, sometimes, you know, there is a situation when my clients come and then they start talking about the coaches, you know, how great they were. And I said, well, come here. And we go to the mirror and say, look, so what do you see in the mirror? And somebody says, well, I see myself. I said, no, you see your coach.
Oh,
You see your coach,
yeah.
right? He's there or she.
Mhm. Interesting. Like that.
So that, you know, if you are old, you know, if you are 40 or beyond that, you're aging already. So it's the life really is deteriorating you already. So to have a coach or a mentor who is younger than 40, how that would work? What would happen?
It doesn't work, Jersey. That's why we're talking to you.
It works, right? It works, but how it works? You always look at like how it works, not that it doesn't work because it's a negative thing. You always say how it works. If you are getting worse, then you ask yourself how it works. I'm getting weaker. How does it work? I'm getting poorer. How does it work? Does it work for me? How does it work?
So if you've got a younger coach, you're always going to get the advice of somebody who has a very different perspective, right?
From the if you get younger coach, that that coach doesn't have any ability to help you when you are old,
Right.
and it will work in the way that it will never help you. That's what's going to happen. You will not get help because you have somebody who is incapable to help you. So how is it working? Is it working that you have a younger coach or somebody you really admire that one? It's more like a playboy thing, right? You're really happy, you see this young and beautiful and so on, but you are not able to help. So how is it working? You have a younger coach that you are proud to walk around in the gym, right? Oh, she's so beautiful, or he's so handsome, right? But you are not going to get help. And that's how it's working.
What if the younger person is a happy body mentor?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's still younger, you know, so it will be really hard for that one to adapt the whole system to your aging, the aging of the body. So, you know, to comprehend, to understand how to adjust the microprogression, how to adjust levels and so on, it's all has to come from experience of that one that goes through life. And younger always believes that can go a lot faster, right? It will push you a lot faster to achieve certain things.
I had an interesting conversation this morning, Jersey, coincidentally. I'm Margaret from Ireland, and I was working with somebody, and she started off by expressing how she felt she was getting old.
Okay.
Now, she is 20 years younger than I am.
And she's getting old.
So you can imagine the sympathy she got.
Right.
But it was good to be able to, and I was trying to get to frame the kind of thing you're saying there now. You know, how is this useful to you? How is this serving you? You know, thinking I am getting old.
How is it working?
How is it working? Yes, that really is how I was trying to guide the conversation with her, because obviously it was serving her in some way.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
So I
people.
really want her to think, about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is very useful tonight.
How is it working? What is working? How is it working?
Yeah.
And try to name it. If you're getting fat, it's working.
Yeah.
You're fat,
You always get results. You'll always get results. Yeah.
If you're getting obese, it's working, right? If you're getting weak, it's working. Something is working there, right? Because it's happening. So it's working. So if you want, a different result, then you have to change how it's going to work differently. You cannot really do the same thing and expect different results, like Einstein said, right? About insanity. Yeah. We keep doing over and over the same thing and expect different results. That's quite insane, right? Well, I would say illogical.
Hello, this is Jeannie. I have a code for you.
Okay. So it's working. So it's always you have to look really what happens to you, and then if what you don't want what is happening to you, you have to really change something in order for you to happen what you want, what you envision, what you want to happen. But that it has to be a reflection of the daily routine that could deliver you different results.
Does it relate back to what you were saying yesterday about accepting reality? So you want to do something, but your behavior is giving you a different result. It's working in a different direction. And you need to basically reconcile those two things.
Right. It's sometimes very difficult to do actually what you need to do. And we talk about the hard choices and no choice, no freedom, right? Or even if you have freedom, how to make the hard choice. So it's a very interesting story in the chapter 2, because in the chapter 2 there is the poem about you see the poem. I will drag my ass down. So this is a psychologist, very bright psychologist, right? And she gets cancer around when she's 50. She overcomes the cancer. She has the surgery and she's good, but she becomes very weak, and chemo really destroys her bones to 47%. So I start coaching her. She lifts 1 pound, dumbbells, and she has to rest for 2 days because she's really extremely weak. And it takes about 2 years of training, and then after 2 years, she can deadlift 200 pounds, and her bones completely return to where they were before. So amazing, right? Thing. And then it's really hard sometimes because, I saw her twice a week physically. In 2004, I moved here. So when I was going to LA, I saw her like other clients. But some people really like this, interaction on daily basis or twice a week or 3 times a week. It's like it's a very powerful way of impacting others so they do what needs to be done. But once a week or once every 2 weeks is like really not enough. So we have tendency to slip into the easy choices and not do what we are supposed to do. So with Judy, I had this story that she was a psychologist, and I couldn't inspire her and talk over and over to do the routine, but she wouldn't do on her own. So she would do with me, but not on her own, right? So one day, I had a conversation, and that conversation was this poem that actually happened. It's a little bit different in the poem. I will drag my ass down. Why don't you exercise? The trainer asked her client, a psychologist. I don't have time. Listen, I've used everything I know to help you change your mind, but you are stronger than I am. When this happens, I send my clients to a psychologist, but you are one, so where should I send you? The psychologist stared at his trainer, looking for a way out, but she didn't blink. Okay, he said, I will drag my ass down to the gym. So you see, to find the right words at the right time to the right person is extremely difficult. And sometimes it takes 3 years before you come out with words like that, and they work. And suddenly it's working the other way, that the person is able to do what the person needs to do. So, you know, it's a constant search for the right inspiration, the right way of saying things. One day my client came and she was already 2 years in the program and doing very well. And I didn't have anything to fix. She was like really good. And 2 years passed, and then, you know, she was this in incredible shape. And she was older, like about mid-60s. And so I asked her, so how did it work? You know, what happened that you follow everything and you did everything? How did it happen, right? Because mostly it doesn't happen that way. And she said, oh, you told me. I said, so what did I tell you? Oh, you told me the 4 words. I said, what words? And she said, 2 years will pass. That's it? She said, yeah, that worked for me. Like, I went home and I couldn't get these 4 words out of my mind for 2 years. So I knew that 2 years will pass and I can waste 2 years, or I can do things in these 2 years, and, you know, I can change my life and use these 2 years constructively instead of doing what I was doing. So I follow everything you told me, not to waste my 2 years. Isn't it amazing? I didn't know. Nobody knows. But that's the whole point, is that, you know, like, to improve somebody's virtue and goodness, it's extremely difficult because we don't know really where to begin and where to end. That's why Stoics try to, you know, get into the virtues and get into dialogue, you know, what is really meaningful, what is important for us, what is good, what is a good life, and so on. What is discipline, and which one, and what is control, and what we can control, we cannot control, you know, which one, and stay with what we can control. Yeah. So if we can do those things, then 2 years will pass and we can get slightly better, right? It's like, you remember, that's what I was telling you. You go forward, you get better, you die. You go backward, you get worse, you die. Why not to go forward? So that's the same with the happy body, right? You do the happy body, you get better, you die. You don't do the happy body, you get worse, you die. So why not to do the happy body? But, you know, it's like, just do it, right? Just do it doesn't work, right? It only works with those that they are ready for just doing. But if the person is not ready for that, then the person needs therapy, or needs inspiration, needs the program, needs a routine, needs the daily something for that person to happen, so that person gets that daily routine that works for becoming better over time.
I think also probably needs a model for, you know, for somebody to model it and to have a relationship so that they can make things.
Yeah, role modeling
steps.
is important,
Yeah.
right? And since role modeling is important, then it's important for and mentors to become these role models, right? Yeah, to become really good at that. It's like Stoics became real Stoics, right? So when others came, they were really Stoics, right? You could see from just behavior. So it is important to work on yourself in every direction to become a better person and not waste the time. And
but also to be authentic, to come back to the story you told about, was it Gandhi and sugar?
Right. Well,
yeah.
Good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there has to be an authenticity as well.
Of course. You know, so I used to coach this hypnotherapist. So who was about 300 pounds, and she was coming to me, and she was hypnotherapist for people who wanted to lose weight. Okay? And you know, at a certain point, I asked her, "So how does it work that you know you coach people who want to lose weight, and you cannot lose weight, right?" So it's really a strange thing. Like it happens in, I don't know if that can happen. Maybe in hypnotherapy. But it's like we have this situation with psychology today. The psychologist can be depressed and works with depressed people. Because it's science, because psychologists said it's a science, right? So, okay, but it's really strange. And whether it works or not is really hard to say, but I cannot see that can work at all. Interesting, right?
So what was her answer? What did she say?
Well, she didn't answer that and never appeared in my place again. So that was...
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
I think there's vanity involved in it, truly. I think there's pride, because I think a lot of times I have more patience with other people and lower expectations. And so if I get frustrated with myself, a lot of times if I'm trying to not be frustrated with myself, I will say, well, what would you tell your best friend if they came to you and said they were feeling this way? Because a lot of times you can have more empathy and more patience for someone else than you can with yourself, because you hold yourself to a higher standard. Right. Because you're vain or prideful.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's a well, we are still human beings. Yes, so it's not so simple. It's like we go through life and we have feelings, and on a daily basis we can feel better or worse. And then at the same time, we work with people that need to get better. So, with psychology is very extremely difficult here, because we work with words and in the area where the words are only. Psychiatrists have a drug and just give the drug and yeah, right? Where psychologists cannot do that. So, you know, psychologists is stuck with the words only. So, and that makes that therapy so much more difficult, because it's really, you know, they're also based on your capabilities too at that time, or psychologist capabilities, right? The role modeling and how the person is in life. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard. It's a hard craft.
Could you tell us about Gandhi and the sugar story? Just review that.
Oh, well, there was this. Who knows the story? Maybe somebody wants to say the story.
Okay.
Somebody wants to say that story?
Margaret?
Looks like Lee knows it. Lee, do you know it?
Yeah, it's from yesterday, wasn't it? The same one, or a couple of days ago. Or was it recently? I don't know. I've lost track. Yeah, so a lady.
That's lockdown. That's lockdown.
A lady takes her son to visit Gandhi, and she presents him to Gandhi and says, "Gandhi, please tell my son he should stop eating so much sugar." And Gandhi looks at them and says, "Come back in 2 months and ask me the same question again." And she says, "Well, why?" And he just sends them away. And he comes back. She comes back in 2 weeks, and he's still been eating loads of sugar. And she says to Gandhi, "So we are back, and what do you have to say?" And Gandhi says to the boy, "You must stop eating sugar." And she said, "Well, why couldn't you have said this 2 months ago?" And he said, "Well, I had to give up sugar first to find out."
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So I think that's the gist.
Last week. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 months ago, he said, I was eating sugar.
That's it. I was eating sugar.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so you wrote from Virtues, the I thinks. Is there anybody that would like to share that?
Hi, Jersey. I'll share. I think when I have no choice, I have no freedom. Choice is so prevalent in my world and in my thoughts, I rarely think of no freedom, though. I also rarely think about the responsibilities of my freedoms. Areas I don't see choice and therefore don't have freedom is when I act mindlessly, when I react as if I don't have a choice, be it to snap at someone I love because I'm irritated or eat what I know isn't good for me. Then I realize I always had the choice. I didn't exercise my choice muscle and see that I can do better.
Beautiful. That's very beautiful. Very good. Yes, that's really good. But that is the time, why we need to practice to slow down, right? Why we need to calm down, why, these breathing patterns in the Hatha-body, why you just inhale and hold for 8 seconds, because it helps you to slow down, to calm down, and not to snap at somebody because you are simply irritated. So you constantly to know that being aware that you have a choice is a very powerful thing, because you can really choose not to be angry, right? And you can choose to be angry. And then if you really come to that point, that it's a huge improvement in every direction, relationship with others and yourself and so on.
What was interesting, as soon as I finished writing it, I went and did the sequences for 30 minutes.
That's good.
It was just like, oh, I need to do this. And off I went.
And it was 30 minutes, right? That's good. Anybody wants to add something?
No, I'll read, this is Sandy here. I'll read this one. It's a little different. I'm interested to get your take on it. And short. I think I have allowed internalized beliefs prevent my seeing choices. I could not choose what my beliefs precluded, and so rob myself of some of my freedoms of self-determination.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the same way, because you're doing something that prevents you from, seeing the choices, because you have strong attachment to only one way of seeing things, right? So that's it's almost differently said, but you are arriving to actually getting the whole idea of no choice, no freedom. So by arriving from different directions, you can see on the second day, on the third day, we're getting deeper into that, and you start really getting a relationship with no choice, no freedom, right? So at the end of the week, you will really get the feeling of that saying, and then you can start using this in your life, right? You just think about every moment of your life that there is a choice to make.
Mm.
And also freedom doesn't mean freedom like some of you thought about at the beginning, right? That I have a freedom, right? So like today, Trump decided to put us on quarantine, right? That was his choice. That was not our choice, right? But his choice. But also that was his freedom and his responsibility, and he will be responsible eventually for his choice. We will not be responsible for that. We are responsible how to respond to that choice, right? But he is responsible, he was responsible, and now he will be responsible, and history will judge him because of that, because he had that choice to do it or not. And now he has the choice to take us out of it. That's his choice, that's his freedom. And that's also his responsibility. And that's him. I have my choice. When he puts me into this situation where I am, what is my responsibility here? What I am responsible for? What kind of a choice of how I relate to that and what I do in the situation in my life. Well, actually, I have a choice.
Hello. Hi.
So whenever you have
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You know what?
the-
A webcast right now, so that's the reason why I didn't take the first. But did everything work out okay? What happened? What's going on?
I think it's Jean's iPad is on.
Let me see. Jeans, yeah, she's
Not muted.
all right. So so every time there is a choice, the choice of how we say things, where we go, how we respond to things. Every minute there is a choice, and we really have freedom most of the time for those choices because we have choice. But there are really people in the world they don't have these simple choices. Like we were, in communism, the choice was to live or die if you chose certain way of responding. So I guess maybe that's why immigrants they come to this country and they exposed to the choices and the freedom of because of those choices they appreciate so much this country because the appreciation is right. So my coaching mentoring is always toward independence, but independence comes from making choices, freedom and responsibility. That's how the link works. The choice, the freedom, liberation, responsibility, independence. That's very clear. And then here is the country that we have most of the choices that we make simply in life. Some choices are taken away. That's why we fight for the freedom. We fight constantly for being free in a way to make our own choices for our own life. In this country, people make the most of those choices on their own. That's why people love America. There's a lot of responsibility, but there is a lot of yes.
May I say something? Because I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about this a lot today. Because you were saying no choice, no freedom, and someone was asking, is this the same as choices equals freedom? And I was thinking about that. Is it the same? And it seems to me that it's not the same. Because if you say choices equals freedom, then this implies that for freedom, all you need are choices. If you have choices, then you have freedom. But if you say no choices, no freedom, then maybe choices are not the only ingredient in having the freedom. Which was then making me think, so what could be the other ingredients. So you need choices for freedom. I think that's clear. But what else do you need? If you only have choices, but no wisdom about how to make those choices, is it really freedom? You know, if you have no knowledge about what you should choose, are you free in your choice? Not really. So,
You
and
are,
then I think the other,
you're always free. You always like, you have a choice, but you have to go to that particular choice and not generally talk about it. Let's say you are in jail. And what is your choice and what is not? Where do you have no choice? You don't have a choice to come out of the jail, right? You have to stay there. So you don't have a choice. That choice, that choice really says no freedom, right? For you at that. But you really have other choices, right? We have choice how to think, whether to meditate or not, whether to write something or not, right? Whether to exercise in the cell or not. You have those choices. So there are a lot of choices you have, and the freedom is there for you to make those choices, because you can make those choices you are free to do. So if you make a choice to really memorize something and do that, then you make the choice or you don't, but you have freedom to make the choice. You see, the recently movie is really good movie for you to watch. It is Name of the Song of Names. So this is the movie that about the Holocaust and about singing a song of all those that perished in the Holocaust. And so rabbis and others, they are singing the names constantly and to remember who died, because they have nothing to write. So they are creating this song that is 7 days long. And some people that are responsible for only the parts of that song. All right. So now, so they made a choice. They had a choice to make that song or not. They were free there to make it happen, and they made it happen. So now when people go to Auschwitz, and sometimes for 2 days, they sing the song, or 3 days, they sing the song. And that song is about all the people that perish. And the song was created by people that they were in the Holocaust to remember those that they were murdered there, right?
yeah.
So in this extreme situation, people had freedom to create that song, and they did it.
Yeah. I think what I was a part of the analogy that I was thinking, because you were talking about for example, in America, there's a lot of choices. So people are free, if you pay your taxes or not, you're free to make this choice.
Right.
So choice equals freedom. But then for me, I was thinking maybe it's more like in America, choices plus resources equals freedom. If you have some money and you can choose or not to pay your taxes, but if you have no money at all, so you need something already, some kind of resource, someone that modeled good behavior, someone that showed you, how to meditate, or what is meditation, or this kind of thing that this.
Yeah. The most important is always to go to the choice. You see the real choice. So when I came to the country, I was very poor, right? And I was looking for a job, and I found the job, and I was paid $5 per hour. And meantime, I applied for welfare, and when I started working, I started receiving checks from welfare, right? But I also was receiving checks from my work. So, okay, this is my choice now. do I accept the money from welfare or I don't, because I have enough money now from my work. So the checks were coming, but I was putting them on the side, and we started living from only the work that we made money from, right? So then after about 3-4 months, we collected all these checks, and it was about $4,000 from welfare. So we went back, and we had freedom. We had the choice, right, to accept the checks or not. So we returned those checks, and then said we don't need those checks. And the welfare person said, but it's okay to take them. You still don't make much money. But I said, but we have enough money, and this money can be for somebody else. It's just our choice. You see, I didn't feel like that money is our money in that situation. But if we didn't have work, right? If we didn't have work, that would be only the source that we could get, right? So that would be no freedom. But as soon as you have freedom of the choice, I was in the situation, found myself right away, the checks from work and the checks from welfare. And then I was put in a choice situation. And then I chose not to accept the checks. But if I didn't have money at all, right, then I would be in situation to get what was there, and I wouldn't have the choice to take it or not. So we are always in life in a situation, almost always, that we have a choice. It's very rare situations that we don't have a choice. But it's really hard to make a choice. But our life should be toward making choices, and hard choices, and receiving, be free because of them, and responsible. I don't want to be responsible for the money that I didn't need, or it was not mine. Today, I feel very good about it, about myself, that I was able to do what is right, what was right at that moment in 1987, when I was extremely poor. I still made the choice, and I had a choice. Of course, sometimes, people are simply sick and ill, and they cannot make choices because they are just simply, ill, right? And their choices are affected by that. It's a different story. We're just talking about situations in life that you have the choice to go to the gym or not. You have the choice to stop eating or not. You have the choice to work out every day or not. You have the choice to be here or not, right? And because you have those choices, you are free, and you are responsible for making the choices. And that's your life. That is your life, evolving around those choices that we are making. That's why being aware of those choices is so extremely important. Like somebody, said before, it's just that emotional, that being aware of those choices puts you into the situation that you can actually make a right choice.
I think to Laura's point, though, when she said wisdom has something to do with it, when you were talking about everything having a result, right? So if you're doing an exercise program and you're not getting the results that you want, if you don't have the knowledge or the wisdom or the mentor, obviously you have choices, but you don't really know all of your choices because you don't have that extra component to give you the ultimate freedom that you would have by doing the right things. Does that make sense?
Well, it's only that's the capability of the person choosing from many available things, but it's still, it's a different choice when you have 10 jumps and you have a take one jump on each one, right? It's a different story when you choose. We sometimes choose because of our education and our believing system. That's why it's very important to work on virtues, because your choices simply can be made toward the hard choice and easy choice. But still, when you have a choice, the whole idea is you are free because you have a choice. Whether the choice is better or worse, it really doesn't matter. What matters the most, that you are free to make because you have it. You have the choice. You are a free human being. And capability of that choice and the value of that choice, of course, it depends on who we are, right? How we can make that choice, because the choice can be a really bad choice, right? But you're still free to make it. You still have a choice to drink alcohol or not.
Can I just add a perspective?
Hmm?
Can I just add one perspective? Since we're talking about freedom, choices, resources, America, immigration. So we're from India. We're immigrants, legal, employed, paying taxes, been here since 2008. And when we came into the country, my husband got a work permit, and the way the law works here is that the spouse gets a dependent permit. So for the first half of our marriage, I was the primary bread earner, the supporter of the family. And then when we came to the US, suddenly the right to work, the choice to work was taken away because I was on a spouse visa. And initially it was great because I was like, wow, freedom. I have so much time now. I'm going to do so many things in my life. It's going to be better, And then I realized that the fact that I couldn't choose to work anymore was much harder. It wasn't my choice. It was something that, somebody else had decided that as a spouse of whoever's been given the work permit, you will not be allowed to work in this country. And then it really started to hit me. And then it just felt like a really deep, dark hole that I went down for a couple of years. And I didn't realize this initially, but it affected me physically, psychosomatically. I started getting sicker. I was in really good health still then. And now now I'm making the choice to at least choose a positive outlook. But I just felt like a victim for a long time because I felt like I could not choose to change my circumstances. Then they changed it in 2015, of course, the legislation. But so that was 7 years of being here and a lot of immigration related laws and all of that. It was political, but
right.
And a lot of people are in that same situation. It's not just us. So I just wanted to add that, it's an amazing country, and I still feel very privileged to be here and a lot of freedoms, no doubt. But there are a lot of different perspectives that we sometimes need to be cognizant of, that it's not visible to everybody that you meet. But yeah, I know, I get that we can choose our attitude and our outlook, but sometimes it's really hard when that choice is just taken away from you.
Yeah, and you experienced that, when you were not allowed to have a choice, right?
Right.
You couldn't make a choice. You were not free, right? Because of that, because of in that choice, you didn't have the freedom to work or not. It feels really bad, right? It feels horrible, right? So the whole thing is about that we feel that like we don't have choices in life when we actually have them. So that bringing this awareness to, do we have a choice to get better when we age instead of worse? To get into that choice, you really have to somehow go through a lot of education, right? Like Laura was talking about, the education and wisdoms and so on, to come to that point that to see the 3 hour in the happy body is a good thing. Okay? And he said, well, I that's my choice. I love the 3 hours. That's not the choice of the happy body. That is my choice. You see, I like it, and I choose that, right? So it is not like something forces on us, something like that. I choose to work out different day. I choose to eat this food or that food. So I am free to make those choices and become more person that is free. Instead of the person that you have to do certain things, you have to always do. You have to eat healthy to be healthy. No. I can choose to eat healthy, to be healthy. I'm free to eat healthy or unhealthy. Right? I am free. Right? To get sick or not. I'm free most of the time, right? And I'm free to age gracefully or powerfully until I am 100 years old, and not to slouch and not to create this body. I'm free to make it happen or not. So this proverb here is created to get you into this mindset that you have choices almost everywhere. And nothing is forced on you. Almost nothing in life. Your life is the result of your choices, and those choices you were free to make. But sometimes we become victims, and sometimes we think that we don't have choices. Gandhi had a choice to stop eating sugar, right? Right? Or he had a choice to say, stop eating sugar without stopping himself eating sugar, right? He had a choice. Right? He picked up a hard choice. Yes, hard choice, easy life, right? He picked up a hard choice to stop eating sugar for 2 months, and then he said, stop eating sugar. Hard choice. And that's a beautiful choice. That's a choice of a human being that knows that the choice goes with responsibility and freedom. And we need people like that, a lot of people like that, because they help us to behave the same way. So the more we are aware of those choices, the more we can actually see that in every situation, we really make a choice. And since we make a choice and we think about that, usually we think about ourselves as good people, right? We can connect that good people with the choice that we make. We can match it. Instead of complaining and blaming others for our choices, we can actually make a choice that is good and find out how that thing works. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes, guys, for you to chat. I'm going to go have some tea, and every day we'll have this chat that you can talk to each other. And the hard choices in life is a constant journey toward getting better in life. So, and that getting better is so complex that we don't have a script for it. yeah, maybe one day we'll have a script, but nobody has ever created a script for the skill of living a good life. Well, it's happening when it's happening, right? So we are trying to make it happen. Okay, you can chat and I will come in 10 minutes.
There's something interesting that being taught to you if you want to be like a magician, you know, if you want to do card tricks and just illusions for people, which is that people will choose what you want if you control the choice. So the same technique is being used by big tech industries, for example. They when they generate content for you, they choose which tweets to show you, which Facebook posts to show you, which YouTube videos to show you, and you think you have the choice to read an article or not, or to watch a video or not. But the real, and in that sense you have the freedom, but the real way that the freedom has been stolen from you was that someone else picked what your choices are. And this I just want to share this thought with you about choices, because it resonated to me what Laura said, that it depends on the resources you have, and sometimes someone else picks the resources for you, and you think you are free, and you are free, but you are only as free as the choices you are given.
Yeah, I really feel that about people's background. For example, you have the choice to do the happy body or not, but only if you're already aware of this program. If you're not aware of the program,
Right.
you are not free to do it. But I was also thinking, like, there is also a third kind of leg to the stool. So if you want to be really free in your choices, you need your choice. You need the freedom to have a choice. You need the wisdom to have the information about the choices you have to make. But you also need the motivation. This is the third. If you have just knowledge, but no motivation, no spark, no energy for putting this theoretical knowledge into your life, then you also are not getting better. You're also not really free if you lack the ability to translate knowledge into action. These are, like, for me, the three things that need to happen before you can truly be free in your choices.
Yes, I agree, Laura. I found it very difficult now last night. Well, it's nighttime here. With the talk of freedom, when it's so obvious that so many people do not have real choices or resources, or like I used the term, role model earlier. They can't see it happening. They have never seen it happen, whatever it might be, whether it be body or something else, the environment in which they live. And these things are in large part dictated by policy.
Yes, very much.
Government policy. And we need to be aware.
Very much.
We are free. Like, obviously, we can be like, for example, the concentration camp. You're in a concentration camp or something awful, and you have freedom of your mind to have a certain attitude or not. But there are so many areas of life where people are struggling with the very basics, and they don't. You will have the worst food available in a very poor suburb in the shops than you will have in a middle class or well-off area. That is true. The worst, the cheapest, the most rubbish food will be available.
Yes, and it's more widespread than I think many people imagine. The people who don't have choice in their food choices, for example, they're constrained by their budget. I think it's very widespread.
Yeah. So there's a whole other dimension to it. I think we could talk in very abstract terms and concepts, but the reality is pretty grim for some people.
But I think community can go so far, which is a lot of what motivated me to join this program, actually. I think that that's the one thing in our society these days. Our society is so based on individuals, but a human is not an individual unit.
Yeah.
Humans they only exist in societies, really. And so that's so put on the back burner, I think, in Western culture at the moment. Like, it's your responsibility. If you're failing, it's your failure.
That liberal free market
so depended on,
yeah.
It has so depended on where you happen to find yourself. Did your family have resources? What did you find about? Were you lucky enough to have mentors? Then you can have a totally different experience. And I hope that this kind of web can, in this way, that we can reach, to reach people and bring them in. And the social dynamic of humans, I think, is something that needs to be much more developed in Western culture, I think.
But I think, to your point of that you wouldn't find the happy body if you didn't know about it, honestly, I found it 3 years ago. I lost it. And I feel like sometimes you need to be in a place in your life when you start to seek something that fits your situation, your circumstance, your need. And only then are you open to that particular choice when it presents itself. A lot of people will see this, they'll intellectualize it, something like this, I think, and they'd be like, oh yeah, great, but my gym is working for me, my workout is working for me, or whatever practice that they have in life. So I think to that point, maybe even if, yes, it's important to spread the word, but at the same time, I know that I wouldn't be open to every good idea that's thrown at me, even if, people are like, oh my God, this is magical. But if I'm not there, I don't think I would be open to that choice personally.
Could I bring in another aspect? Just occurred to me when we've been under basically confinement in Canada here. So we're still allowed to go out and get groceries and that kind of thing. But but with the pronouncement today, what was the term that Jersey used that Trump announced today? Was it something to do with confinement or?
Was it quarantine? I didn't see that actually on the news.
Yeah. Anyway, if he did, I guess what occurred to me is that it depends on if the president makes such a pronouncement, or our prime minister, that limits my freedom to an extent, but I have the choice to defy that pronouncement. And that, say, under one of your amendments, that might be considered a right. So I think rights come into this too somehow, that the right, the one that comes to mind obviously is the right to carry arms, but that's not in everybody's best interest. And it's I see it over and over in your news and in your history. So the whole idea of the rights of the individual really affect this whole aspect of choice and freedom, I think, too. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I think that freedom also, it's difficult to talk about freedom in general because, what freedom, for example, I don't have the freedom now to go maybe to work, to go outside and do what I want, but that gives me now a different freedom to spend time with my family, which normally I wouldn't be able to do. So a freedom to do one thing can translate as, the freedoms kind of bash into each other and overlap. So the more freedom you have to do this, but then different freedoms can open up maybe in their place.
That's why, it's a choice of freedom. If you have a choice, you have freedom. If you don't have a choice, you don't have a freedom. So you can behave a whole life as the person who doesn't have the freedom and you think you don't. And sometimes costs of this, if you act on it, can be death. And sometimes it is. In 60s, Parker stood up in the bus and walked to the front of the bus and sat where white people were. Okay, so what happened? For her life and everybody else behaved like they didn't have a choice.
Right.
One day, one stood up and realized, I have a choice. And that she became free because of it. She realized that she is free. And she walked to the front of the bus and sat there. Right? So in life, you can be living the life of a slave force, and you don't have to. You can really make choices, but you think you can't. And we get stuck sometimes with that. Long time. And some of us, one day, open for us the world that actually is free in that choice and changes the world. We have a lot of situations even today that, we still behave that way. Have you watched the movie Harriet? Watch the movie Harriet. Then you will see. There are a lot of situations in life that people really behave the way that they have a choice, and sometimes they die because of it, right? And most of the time we died because we acted on a choice, but we were free when we died. And the situation with the bus situation, it was 60s. Everything was coming good. It was in Poland, it was 81 when Solidarity came into, to the top and to take over the union and create the union. Well, but nobody knew at that time whether, they just, killed 10,000 people like before, right? Or there will be Solidarity. And in 81, Solidarity was put down for 8 years. For 8 years, Solidarity was underground in Poland. A lot of people died during this time. In 89, but even though people never gave up that they had a choice, right? They waited to make the choice, right? Like the bus, everything else has to come to the point. And in 89, the Solidarity comes out of underground, claims the government, and gives the freedom to everyone around. The Berlin Wall collapses. It wouldn't collapse if in 80s, the Solidarity didn't begin. And it wouldn't collapse in 81, Solidarity would not go underground. All of it is interconnected, and slowly our brain evolves and our brain, sees that actually we have a choice. And we start acting on it no matter what. The old is wrong, and now we say we have a choice. And we make the hard choice. And usually the hard choice is the goodness always in a world is inconvenient because it breaks the whole rules of the past. and it's hard to make. The Amazing Grace that I asked you to watch, you know, the movie in the first Hard Choices, Is It Live, is about the person that came to the point that slavery is wrong, and he started making the choice to abolish that in England and work whole life until it happened. But for everybody else, almost, was really a good thing, convenient. Slavery was good, profitable, and so on. But he couldn't, you know, imagine otherwise, right? Those who really liked slavery and profited from it. But this one person delivered the choice that we will be okay without slavery. We will not collapse. Our economy will not be, you know, in terrible shape, and we will be okay. We don't need slavery. And it's the wrong thing anyway, but then it happened. 2-3 years after, and then we have the bill passed in England to about 300 to 20. And those who voted 10 years ago, you know, for slavery would vote for against. Because of one person who was free to make that choice. You know, we are making progress in human development and human growth and virtues. Is a slow process, but it is a process for better. We definitely have a better world today. We have a lot of laws for better and better, and we are making a better world. We keep making it. Sexual harassment, you know, 40 years ago was generally accepted. Today, it's not so simple, right? Those who harass, they have to change, they have to adapt, they have to avoid it. We know what it means. We know where it is. But at the time, you know, when it began, when it started, right? It's of course those who are for it, those who it is convenient to behave like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like nothing wrong with slavery. It's nothing wrong. And then they convince everybody that it's just the right thing, and that's it. Everybody believes that until somebody walks from the back of the bus to the front and sits there. And then everything begins. Imagine that woman walking, and imagine her mind, state of mind. Imagine her courage and beauty of the mind. Well, we need people like that, right? And because of these people, we really get better. These courageous, extremely courageous people, we get better. Our world gets better because of these people. And, you know, we should constantly appreciate and search for these people in the world and become one. Because everyone can become that person. All right.
It's interesting though that maybe sometimes those people only become those people in history. At the time, sometimes they're, you know, a pain in the ass for everyone. They're the rebel, they're the whatever. But then when society catches up with them, then we realize the hero that they were. But sometimes it takes a while.
Because goodness is inconvenient, right?
Mhm.
And, inconvenient for those who profit from badness, when everybody else is forced to think that is not free. And then, the status quo breaks when the woman stands up, walks to the front, and the world has to change. We cannot behave anymore like it was in the past. It's just amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and in the beginning, that's uncomfortable for people, I think. Then to follow a new thing that they didn't think about before. In the start, it's uncomfortable, and then they realize, oh, this is the right way. We should do this.
Right, and we evolve because of, right? We evolve. We evolve because, some people do the right thing at a certain time. They are sick enough of what is the force at that time and what is wrong. They're sick enough and they stand up. And because of them, we are getting a better world. And many of those, of course, lose life as they do, right? Because goodness has the price. It's really it's a sad thing to think that goodness has this high price. In many times in the past, thousands and millions of people die because they try to create goodness in life. How many people in Poland died before 89 happened, or even 80 when Solidarity? Every 5-10 years, they shot a lot of people, tortured and murdered in Poland and in every country around. How many people? Yeah. All right. I will write no freedom, no choice, no freedom. I feel, right? I feel.
Jersey, can you, so between I understand, I think, I feel like they're mixed up.
It's okay. Well, whatever your feeling is, you're on a journey. So if it's mixed up, but it's just you act on it, you experience that, and slowly that clarity, the difference between them will start really making sense. Now, it doesn't, because it just we only look at that from one perspective. That's why we have 7 perspectives in order to integrate that saying, right? Understanding something is not thinking about something. And thinking about something doesn't mean feeling about something. So we need to get into that. That's why arts are about feelings, right? Artists, they feel, and because of their feelings, they create. But it's a deep feeling of the whatever it is that is there presented to them. Like the poem Michiko Nagomi I read, the poem about the poet loving so much. It's a love poem. It's a love poem of a poet writing those words after losing his wife. But it's a love poem, beautiful words. feeling. You need to get to the feeling. Had to, go meditate, think about no choice, no freedom. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Good. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Awesome day.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we are in the middle.
Thanks so much, Jersey.
Thanks, Jersey. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jersey, and everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jersey. I hope today was nice and easy, not like yesterday.
Yeah, a lot better. Yesterday was tough. Too tough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's make tomorrow tough as well then.
Right.